I've always had a passion for being around and learning about animals. When I was younger, going to zoos and animal parks was always a part of my life. I wanted to share my passion with family and friends, so I started working with people that loved animals as much as I did, and my YouTube channel was born.
Welcome back to my animal education series. Today I'm here with Abby at the Memphis Zoo. Hello.
Hello.
What do we have here?
This is Elmo. He is a Burmese Python.
How long is this snake?
Elmo is about 15.3 feet long.
And he looks pretty big, not really fat, but how much does he weigh?
He's about 85, 90 pounds. He's actually been on a diet, so he was a lot heavier than he is now, but we've got him slimmed down.
So where can you find these pythons in the wild?
Elmo actually lives in Southeast Asia.
So what kind of environment can you find these pythons in?
So these guys like to have a lot of water and permanent bodies of water around them, so you can find them in marshy, swampy areas down in Asia.
And what kind of foods would they eat there?
They would eat appropriately sized birds and mammals. It depends on how big the snake is, but they're not really good at judging, but they can take in prey about the 1.5 times the size of their biggest section.
Wow, that's some pretty big food.
That is some pretty big food.
So what do you feed it here at the zoo?
Elmo gets about a 5-pound rabbit. Again, I say he's on a diet, but he does get offered food once a week. Sometimes he'll eat it, sometimes he won't, and we offer him a chicken every now and again just to mix up what he gets.
What has been one of your favorite things about taking care of the snake?
Actually getting able to bring him outside so people can be mesmerized by these animals, and looking at him behind the glass. Yeah, he's big, but bringing him out here to tell people about the problems with them, the pet trade and things like that, and getting to touch him is really inspiring, and people get to take that home and remember the information we told them.
Because besides just being next to the cage, like some people would do, we're able to bring him out, and he's been pretty chill. Like, he's not overreacting at all. He's not trying to go away from the bushes over there. He's doing pretty good.
Yep, he actually does do well with people petting him and touching him and getting up close. The only time he gets really reactive is we're out here with him for an hour sometimes, and he gets warmed up by the sun, and then he's a little wiggly when we try to take him back home. But other than that, he's a perfect snake.
And you guys weren't really struggling at all to get him out. Yeah, he's just kind of heavy, has a lot of muscle to him. But besides that factor, he's pretty calm, wasn't aggressive in the slightest.
Nope, and Elmo actually used to be a pet, so he does have that mentality that he was someone's pet. He's always had things handed to him in the sense, but that actually helped us in the long run of him being an amazing education animal for not only us, but our education department and our animal interpreter.
So you said it was a pet, so that kind of helps me with the next question. Like, how did you get this snake?
It was an old woman who had him as a pet, and unfortunately, I think she passed away, and they wanted to find a home for him, and thankfully our boss said this is a perfect example of an animal to be used for education, and we brought him into the collection, and he's been here ever since.
So what kind of steps do you have to go through to determine an animal as an education, like reptile at least?
Usually a lot of our education animals sadly have come from pets. Our Memphis Python used to be in someone's home, and she had been handled and been used in the sense of the word to be able to be handled and taken care of. And just in the long run of taking care of animals and interacting with them for a certain amount of time and being able to progress in what we do with them step by step. Some animals we've started off where we can't do anything with them, and just working with them we've been able to do amazing things to be able to use them to teach the public.
So how old is the snake?
Oh, that one I'm not sure. Elmo is, I think, about 9 or 10 years old. He's not too old, but he's also not a young snake.
And how long do they usually live for?
These guys can live into their 30s, 40s. Snakes are actually long-lived animals. We have snakes in the building that are 32 years old, wow, 40 years old. So,
and how big do they usually get?
The biggest one on record is about 18.8 feet. And average in the wild, they're about 13 feet, so Elmo's kind of in between.
Yeah, because about 15, that's pretty much right in the middle there.
Yep.
So, many people know about the whole invasive species issue down in Florida, and these are one of the main culprits, so could you explain that a little bit more?
So unfortunately, these guys were near threatened in their native habitat in Asia due to leather trade, food, pet trade and things like that. So here in America, we like to do breeding programs to try to save animals, to help boost the populations that they could be reintroduced in their native habitat and things like that. And unfortunately, one of the main speculations that we think is that Hurricane Andrew came through, knocked out a breeding facility, and these guys unfortunately got released into the wild. Usually, non-native things don't get a hold of the environment they're in, they don't reproduce and things like that. Unfortunately for these guys, they like swampy, permanent water bodies, and they like tropical.
That's exactly what the Everglades gives them.
That's exactly what the Everglades is. It's a perfect habitat. So with that and large food sources with the deer down there, and they've actually eaten alligators, they've been able to establish a population, grow and reproduce, and are now a invasive species down in Florida and causing a lot of problems because they're decimating wild animals down there that are native that have never experienced a predator like this before.
Because you said they can get up to 10, even 15 feet like here, and if they have so much food down there, they're probably going to get to the bigger range, like around the 15 feet like this one is.
Yep, and
they've never adapted to a species of this size.
Nope, they haven't. I mean, an ambush predator like an alligator, they might not be able to get away, but it's something they've encountered throughout their lifetimes and generations. A snake like this that can also be an ambush predator, but can swim and can slither on the ground, that can attack them from
It can be in the trees.
It can be in the trees, so they can be attacked from any direction and opportunity. And these guys are opportunistic eaters. They'll eat anything.
Yeah, there's been, unfortunately, a lot of the kinds of cats and dogs have been missing as well.
This is true. I mean, people think that alligators are really bad down there, but these guys can get into your house, and I mean, an alligator is just going to sit in your yard and kind of cause you some stress and surprise, but these guys can be found in habitats with people and animals, and unfortunately, like you said, cats and dogs, perfect quick meal for a snake like this.
You said they're opportunistic, so they're going to take what they can find.
Yep.
So what are some of the programs in conservation, like not really conservation efforts, but programs that take care of the Burmese issue in Florida?
So down in Florida, they actually have programs where people can go out, and unfortunately, as sad as it sounds, they eliminate the animals. And yes, no one likes to take lives of animals. They're important ambassadors, they're important animals in their own native range, but we have important animals down in the Everglades, endangered birds, migratory birds, things like that, that pass through, and they're in more of a risk of going extinct because of these animals than these guys are. So they go out, they find these pythons, they do science and research on them, what's in their digestive system, if they have eggs, how many eggs they have, if it's a male or female, they take the size and estimates they need. So they are getting information about how to easily combat this problem, but unfortunately the animal does have to be eliminated in the end.
Like, as unfortunate as it said, like it sounds as you said, it kind of needs to be done. There's so many of them, and they're just eating so many of the native wildlife that we had to get to this step. But it's, I hope it works out in the end. If not all of them go extinct, and that we can still do conservation things with them. And for me, like, this is my favorite species of python. Like, the retic's the big one, but I just really love the pattern on this one, so I definitely don't want to see them go extinct. But I also don't want to see them eat a bunch of animals to endangerment and extinction in Florida.
Yeah, and another big problem, like you said, this is one of your favorite snakes. People love these guys. I don't think people understand when they see a cute little baby Burmese python that he's gonna get this big. There's no stopping how big he's gonna get. He might not get as big, but the pet trade and importation of these animals still continues even though we have this problem. Bye.
But thank you so much for telling me all about the Burmese python.
You're welcome. I'm glad you guys came down to learn about him and meet Elmo and show the world just how amazing Burmese pythons are, but also that they are causing an issue.
Absolutely. And as always, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode. Don't forget to leave a big thumbs up down below, subscribe to my channel, and also check out my Instagram @ColeShirt. And as always, I'll see you next week.